The day is just beginning in one of the most beautiful cities in Italy, Florence. The historic center is full of masterpieces that bear witness to the city's sumptuous past. 600 years ago, it played a key role in the cultural and artistic development of the Renaissance in Europe. Florence is home to a sacred monument that has brought Christian architecture into a new era. The Cathedral of Santa Maria del Fiore, better known throughout the world as the Duomo. In the heart of the old city, the Duomo rises, with its large marble facades and its famous dome, the largest in the world after the Pantheon in Rome. A jewel which was the experimental ground of the greatest masters of the Renaissance. The cathedral, together with Giotto's bell tower and the baptistry of St. John, forms the religious heart of Florence. They are the guardians of a heritage admired each year by millions of visitors.
Ancora, 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 ancora.
Before the crowd arrives, the Duomo's sacred music choir rehearses under the direction of its master, Michele Manganelli.
All'ottava sotto. E. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's a privilege to play in such an amazing place. Although it's hard because there's an incredible echo. The echo lasts almost 10 seconds. When you hold a chord, it lasts. That's why the choir director, rather than listen, must anticipate to spread the sacred message.
The voices resound along the 160 meters of the nave and take flight under this exceptional 90-meter-high dome. An unusual measure to which the choir must constantly adapt to accompany major religious events.
Our music is not just music in itself. It is an integral part of the liturgy. It is a prayer in its purest state. Words speak to intelligence. Music speaks to the heart. With our music, we are obliged to create an emotion for all the faithful who come to the liturgy. Playing music in the dome is the most wonderful thing in my life. To be under Brunelleschi's dome with all these frescoes, to know the history of the dome, and to know that centuries of music surround us is truly magnificent. It is an absolute privilege.
The choir performs the entire classical repertoire, but also original works composed by Michele Manganelli. Because since its construction, the Duomo has been a building entirely dedicated to artistic creation. In the 14th century, the silk and fabric trade made Florence the richest city in Europe. But its cathedral at the time was not up to the ambitions of the great families who wanted to make their city a showcase for culture and the arts. They therefore decided to demolish the old cathedral and build another one of enormous dimensions. Sabine Fromel is an art historian and Renaissance specialist.
There was a race for greatness during this time. Pisa had already built a complex which also had a baptistery and a cathedral and a huge tower. Siena had built a cathedral. But the city was thriving, and the city was characterized by great pride. So it really had to mark its superiority. There was also a deep faith, and it was also a city that was deeply influenced by the Catholic religion.
The great families, such as the Medicis, the richest bankers in Europe, developed an enlightened patronage among the great artists of the time. An exalted period which saw the emergence of great names like Michelangelo, Botticelli, and Filippo Lippi. From this alliance was born a major revolution in art that would later be called the Renaissance.
They were highly cultured people who wanted to contribute directly to the prosperity of the arts and who invested money to make this artistic boom evolve. The Medicis were able to find the best artists who, as a result of such strong competition, really managed to do things of great technical and aesthetic quality.
Several generations of architects and patrons followed one another throughout the construction. Their influences mixed with engineering progress to help the building evolve. Arnolfo di Cambio, Giotto, Pisano, for these men, the cathedral site was the work of a lifetime. When the complex was completed in 1436, the facades were inlaid with green, white, and pink marble to echo the baptistry and bell tower. The main facade had to be entirely adorned with sculptures, which was new at the time in Italy. But it will undergo many alterations until its full completion in the 19th century by the architect Florence. The facade that can be admired today, however, is very coherent in style with the initial project. Carved doors, Gothic rosettes, and sumptuous statues punctuate the complex. But such a masterpiece requires constant maintenance. A few streets away from the Duomo, the sounds of metal being struck come from the sculpture workshop. Created at the time of construction, the bottega or workshop of Florence's cathedral is still in operation. Marcello Del Colle has been preserving the Duomo's works of art for 34 years.
Allora, il nostro lavoro fondamentale è quello del
Our job is to redo the parts that have become damaged or deteriorated.
si degradano, che si sciumano, ovviamente
We must do this integrative work with the materials used at the time,
con i soliti materiali,
namely Carrara marble.
nell'epoca, per cui marmi di Carrara. E poi a noi fondamentalmente ci piace rifare a mano nella bottega.
At the cathedral's bottega, we like to work by hand and then return these pieces to our cathedral.
Allora, noi praticamente le tecniche nostre della lavorazione
Our working techniques have not changed a lot compared to those of the time.
cioè noi abbiamo sempre il solito mazzolo
We still use the traditional steel mallet and tools.
in acciaio.
About 80% of our work is done in the traditional way.
Lavoro che noi facciamo appunto in maniera molto tradizionale.
At the time of its construction, the cathedral was like a real laboratory of artists who wanted to create a break with art from Middle Ages. Today, the Bottega's sculptors perpetuate their expertise.
Questo che a me fra l'altro poi mi fa onore, perché pensare che in questa bottega ha lavorato i più grossi
It is an honor for me to say that the greatest artists of the time worked here,
addirittura un grandissimo
like Nanni Di Banco, an outstanding Renaissance sculptor who was an employee of the cathedral's workshop.
cioè, questo grandissimo scultore lavorava fisso qui all'Opera di Duomo. Ritengo che sia un lavoro fondamentale e necessario.
Our work is necessary, fundamental to preserve our cathedral. And the people who have worked here are people with incredible talent. And to lose such heritage, if we don't take care of it the way we do, would be a serious mistake.